So starting with this error, when I try to run the site, southbankcupcakes.employee doesn't exist. It was there, but it was an old database, and when I imported the table, it wouldn't import, so I had to drop the old database, or you can rename it. And then I imported the new database here, Southbank Cupcakes, and now it has the table. So if I now refresh this, this error will go, and you can see it's gone. And these are the things you must know. Let's see what happens here. There is a login and password. Now this semester, okay, we need to fix these errors. We'll see unknown database ABC optical on line 2. Okay, I'll talk about that thing about the login and the hashing a bit later. Let's fix these errors and let's see how to go about fixing them. It says that you have got a mySQL connect file, unknown database ABC optical in include database abc.php on line 2. So let's go and have a look at this. So I'm going to go and open up this file, and I have text wrangler here. And if you understand your code, you should be able to debug. So let's see how this works now. I have to go to XAMPP, so my XAMPP is under applications. XAMPP, htdocs. So I have Southbank Cupcake final here. And it says under include, there is a database.abc-php. Let me have a look at it. See, this is checking for ABC optical. And I also noticed there's another file sitting there, which is database.php. And database.php is looking at Southbank Cupcakes, which means my file here, products page, file open, and I think she was giving an example. So if I go here and open my products page, pages, and I open my products page, you can see it is including database-abc. I must include the correct file. The correct file is database.php. It says very clearly that in line 2 of this particular file, you have a problem, but I realize this file is the wrong file. And who is calling this file? This file was being called by the products page. So the products page had an include statement. Let me freshen this up. Let me run the products page again, and now it's working. Okay. And it's good that we are getting these errors. So you can see how I'm fixing them, and you can see the mechanics of the code. Undefined index product name. So what it is saying is on line 42, $row product name. It is not defined. Now this is coming from the database. The moment you have $row, it's coming from the database. This mechanics is what you will use again and again and again. Let me try to increase the font size here. Maybe view, text display. Okay, I'll make it fairly big. In all of your database assignments, this is the mechanics. You will have a query. The query is put into a variable $SQL. The $SQL is run. MySQL query, it runs the query. $con is a connection. It will connect to the database. $SQL will run the query. And whatever is the outcome, it will put in $result. If for some reason this query does not run, your program will die. It will stop and it will give an error. The error will be that, hey, I can't make a connection. So and this is the mechanics that's going to continue not only this semester, next semester as well. So it's very, very important that you understand this mechanics. Okay, you got a $SQL, you put it in a result, and then you put the result. Your result comes like an array. You already know what an array is. So you have these fields, these columns in the database, and you have rows of data: customer 1, customer 2, product 1, product 2. So you put them in a array called $row, and you use MySQL fetch array. But how do you fetch them? So you say $row, and this is the name of the column. So let me go into my database, let me go into product and see my name of the column. The name of my column is product, price and stock. So this should be product, price and stock. See, product, price and stock. So I'm saving it now, coming back here, running it, and now my products page is working. Okay, so you see where what is. You can see that these are column names from the database. Okay, very important to know that this is a column name, this is a column name, this is a column name. Let's go further, let's explore this. Let's try and get back to the point where I was. If I Let's have a look at login. So I log out, and what happens here? One, testing. So you have tested, you have used a file called login processing. You have used a file called login processing under maybe pages or included, I don't know, login process. Yep, you got some kind of a process. And what's happening in this process? It's funny that I have to keep doing this font thing. Let me just change that to 18 as well. Okay. Whenever you have a form, and this was your form, right? This is a form, and let's look at the form. And I need to explain something very important here that happens again and again and again. So login. So you have a form, and the form has many form fields. You see these two form fields that you have, they are coming from these two input. Can you see this input? This input. Now, there is no rule that says the ID and the name should be exact, but people put it. That's a normal way of coding. So it makes things easier to remember that when you want to get this field by name, you know it's employee ID. Whether you want to get it by ID for styling, you know it's employee ID. The only place where names should be the same, and that's for a group of radio buttons. So if you want a group of radio buttons, the name has to be same, and that is what makes it into a group. Or yeah, so you can address each radio button as an array. But apart from that, names can be different. Now bear in mind, very important, that this name has nothing to do with the database. This name has everything to do with post. You see this? This is a form. In the form, there are two input fields, 1, 2. Input fields, and you have one button. If I change this name to X, okay, and I'll make it is case sensitive, I believe, so I'm going to just make it small x to be safe, and I change the password name to P. Actually, let me just make password to P and employee name to E. Okay, what do I need to change? When I process it, let's look at the error. I needed to refresh it. So let's try. Incorrect employee ID or password. That's because now what I'm feeding the login process is E and P. And E and P relates to this one. You see where you capture it? That has been posted. And very important that what you post, that is what you catch here. See this dollar post? Where does this dollar post come from? Dollar post and dollar get are the normal associative arrays of PHP that don't need to be initialized like a session variable. Session variable needs session start, and I will talk about that soon. but this is post. You have posted method, you have used method post to post this form, and you have called another file login process, and you have posted this data to that file. Very important to know that now what you have posted should be here. You posted E, so it should be E. So what I'm trying to say here is that the name should match this. The name should match it. Again, this is a variable. You can call it emp. And this is a variable. You can call it pass. Now it is good practice to keep it the same. But what I'm trying to say, this has nothing to do with the database field name. Neither does this. This is a variable. And now wherever I've used the variable, see this? I can call it emp, $emp, $pass, emp and pass. And this will still work. This will work. I just want you to know the correlation between the form names and this field and this variable name and this variable name. See, this is the variable name. Now, anywhere you use these brackets, $row, now that is a field name. That has to match the database. Okay, $row and rectangular brackets, that has to match a database. And let's start that. So, let me refresh this. And now I go 1, testing, incorrect employee ID. I might have typed it wrong. Okay, let's see. Did I not save it? Save this. So post E, post P, emp, pass, pass, emp, and pass and pass. So there's one more place there's a password being used. And it's good that John could see it on the big screen. I couldn't see it here. I need to reload this. Okay, still, we'll go and find the errors. Emp, E, pass, P. What is coming here? We have got E and P, name. So it is coming here. It is processing it. $pass is getting hashed. Look for $emp and $pass. Fetch the array, count. I will change this redirection. Now, one way of debugging, and this is good that this error is happening. You see what is happening here. If there is an error, it is going back to the login page. I'm going to comment this out, and I'm going to comment this out so I can see the error on this page. So now I'm going back to login. I'm going to 1. I'm going to testing. And this is what I do with the diploma students. I debug. It says undefined variable in line 17, employee ID in line 17. So line 17, again this had to be changed to emp. Okay? And now let's see. I'm going to refresh this. And it works, no errors. So these are the redirections. Understand this code, and I'll repeat that. So that works now. Oh, it is still showing me the error message. It is setting a $session error. Let's look at the $session variables, and we'll tackle that error just now. Unlike get and post, whenever you use a $session variable, unlike the $get and $post, whenever you set the $session variable, you have to start a session. If you don't have a session start, session variables don't work. Here you are saying that if you are successful, set a session variable called login or set a session variable called error. And both of these are actually called in the login page. Have a look at this here. It says that if is set $session error, if such a variable has been set, dollar session error, then echo it, echo that error. I think you give it a class error because it's red, so you give it a class and you flag that error. And you might have another session variable for welcoming the individual, and that might be on the products page. So you can see on the products page, you might have, if success has been set, then just echo it. So I think in the dollar session success, you have put a welcome message, David welcome or John welcome. Now let me go and check these errors. So there is, it says this. It is saying incorrect employee ID, although it says Sally is logged on. So this one, and I think that has to do with my variable. So let's go back to login process. If count is 1 and is numeric emp, session login, and you go to the products page with session login, otherwise session error. So let me see where this is coming from. I've got this. Let me see where that's coming from. On the products page, if it is success, else if, I think that's the way. Is else if one? Okay, maybe that. Else if error. It should not set this error at all. If count 1, this. And it's good we are getting these errors because, oh, it's gone because I've refreshed it now. Okay. I did not refresh it before, so it was holding a previous session variable. It was holding the error from the past, so it was showing that error because it was still holding it in memory until I refreshed it. So very important that the post, you understand whatever the field name is there, it's going to match the name. Whatever field name is in the field, that is what is going to be here, post. Whatever you post, that is the variable name, and this variable name is the variable used in your query. The structure of your pages will always be $SQL, then $result will run the SQL, then $row will capture the result into an array using mySQL fetch array, and then you use a while loop. Like in customers page, products page, you will always use a while loop, saying that as long as there is something in the array, as long as it is true that there is something in the array, keep echoing it out. So if you have a big database with 50 columns, echo out row column 1, row column 2, row column 3, and that's how you pull out data from your database. You will be making a shopping cart next semester, same deal, except you will be adding some JavaScript to, you know how you change the quantity. So if you buy one product and you change the quantity to 5, so you need to multiply it by 5. Those things you'll be using JavaScript or jQuery. But the core database, this is it. And you can think of anything complex in the world right now. Think of Facebook. What is there? Thousands of users. You're going to make a registration form. The form data will be posted. How will it be posted? It will be inserted into the database. In this semester, you have hashed the password manually, but next semester you will hash it through PHP. This password that you have here in South Bank Cupcakes employee, we have done it manually this semester. You see these passwords? But when we are reading it, bear in mind that when we are reading it in the process, see, we have used a function hash. We are saying take the password, hash it, and then compare it. In the same way, you'll take the password which a user wants, hash it, and then store it. Insert it in the database. This is the structure which you're going to use for everything. There's one more thing I need to emphasize on. And before I go ahead, I'll remind any page that uses session variables should have a session start. And you can have any session. You can have $session login. You can have $session error. You can have $session user. You can have any session variable. You can set these associative array values, and you can call them on another page. The advantage of session variable is you can move it from one page to another page without posting it or anything. Let's look at get, and I'm going to open the customers page now. So if I go to customers page, see this. When I click on update details, I get Anna's details, right? When I click on Art Cafe, I get Art Cafe's details. And look at this, customer edit. I'm going to the customer edit page, and what am I carrying with me? Customer ID 2. When I go on this business, I'm going to the customer edit.php page, and I'm carrying customer ID 4. The get, how does it work? Understand this so you can use it. And this assignment is very, very important for next semester. I want to add one more thing before I show get. These notes made by Tony, they reflect right now the standards that are being used most commonly, and the approach of the assignment is what is considered good practice. Okay. Next semester there might be a different approach of PHP, a more accepted version, maybe object oriented. Try to adapt to that, because what is being given to you is what is current and what is a good practice, what is considered good practice by the industry. So try to learn those things, try to learn the mechanics of what is being given to you so that you can apply it. You should be able to apply this knowledge for a different website. You should be able to understand this. Oh, now I can do it for somebody else. I can apply this knowledge for somebody else. You should be able to create really large projects. And really, you can sit in your garage now and make really, really large projects. Shopping carts is I would say, fairly difficult to create. Of course, there's so many solutions now, and there's CMSs to do shopping carts, and that's what I use. But the skill level that you're getting to is fairly high. So let's look at get. I'm going to open up the pages customer and customer process. So this is my customers page. Let me once again just get the font size a bit large enough. So I've got my customers page here. Again, you can see that there are some session variables being used, which means at the top there should be session. Now I don't have session. Reason being, it is probably included in the header or someplace. So let me check. It should use a session variable. If it doesn't use a session variable, it will not show me this. And let's try this. If I do say session start, if I say session start, if I actually try that, if I try that function here and I save this and I come to the customers page, it gives me a notification session has already been started, ignoring session. Okay, it tells me where it is started in the login checkup, and you can see a login checkup has been included because people who have not logged in should not come to this page. Now that page has a session start. Let me show it to you. So if I go to file, open, pages, it's probably in include login process. You can see no, it's probably in include. It's not login process. I am looking for login checkup. So there's a login check, and that has got a session start. So wherever you include login check, you don't have to include a session start again, basically. So customer has got the sessions. Main thing is what's happening here. Very simple query. Select star from customer. Of course, you're joining the invoice just so that you know which customer has given how much business to you. So there's a join there. But a query that lists the customers mainly. You're putting it in result. You're running the query, putting it in result. Now you can put this row separately, or you can put it in the while loop straight away. So the result, the dollar result is now being thrown into mySQL fetch array, and it is put into dollar row. And as long as there's something in the row, this while loop will keep pulling out data. And that's what's happening here. So when I go to customers, this is one while loop, there's a second while loop. The first one is the business name with a strong heading, you can see that, and it keeps pulling it out. Now this last line, update details, let's look at it. You are echoing update details, very simple. But you are making it into a hyperlink, and you know that a href is a hyperlink. So update details, you're putting a hyperlink. What is the hyperlink? The hyperlink says, now because there are two quotes here, you're going to put one quote. The hyperlink says go to customer edit.php. So when somebody clicks on update details, you will go to customer edit.php. And what will you take with you? You will take customer ID. Now which customer ID? See this at the bottom, customer ID 5. Look at the bottom, this is customer ID 4. How is it pulling it out? We are saying go to the row and pull out the customer ID from the row. Now this matches the field. So go to this page and use the get variable to set customer ID, and this customer ID is coming from the database. Now you see this customer ID, I'm just going to change it to cust ID. This customer ID I'm changing to cust ID because I want to make a point. This is a variable, cust ID is a variable, and when you go to the customer edit page, so that's the page you are going to, right? You are going to set a variable. Let me change the font size here too. You are setting a variable, customer ID, and you are getting customer ID. This is coming from that page which I just changed. So if I go to customer, I just changed it to cust ID. So I can come here and this should match my variable in the previous page. So I'm sending cust ID, customer edit. Now I'm getting whatever I sent, that's what I must get. You can't get something that you did not send. Cust ID. And this is a variable. I can call it anything. I'll call it C. I'm just trying to make a point here so that you don't confuse variable names with the get array values with the database field values. It's good for them to be the same, but you should not mistake that to be the case that you have to put database column values. I'm trying to make a point here. So I'll call this one client, like somebody did yesterday. This is a variable name. So this $client is a variable name. So this is the same variable, client. This is coming from the previous page, going into this variable. That variable is going into the query, and then a result is coming. Let's see if it works. I might have made more than one error. So that page is still working. When I click here, it works. I'm going to customer edit.php and see what I'm carrying with me. This time I'm carrying cust ID, which is what I changed. I'm carrying cust ID. So when you go from one page to another processing page, if you're posting data, then the post has to match the name of the input field. If you are getting using the get variable, the get must match the variable name. Whatever you're getting on the processing page has to be sent, the same variable has to be sent from the previous page. See, cust ID equal ones, and now when I hover over here, you can see at the bottom it says cust ID equals 1. Of course, and then when you update this, you go to another page which is going to insert these details. Now this is post. From here you're going to post. When I click update, Anna Marie cakes. Oh, it didn't update. So I have to, let's see, Anna. And I think it has something to do with this quote here. So we'll try another one. Anna's Art Cafe. Okay, good. It's not editing. Gives us a chance to troubleshoot. Now the most important thing, when your code does not work, very patiently try to find out what's not happening. I really learned this from Tony. I used to watch how she used to troubleshoot, and over the last 2-3 semesters, I could pick up errors. I've sat patiently for hours just to find a simple error. So let's look at this error. My database is not updating. So I need to know what is happening. I need to know what's happening, and here what is happening is there is a line of code at the bottom which redirects me to the customer process page. So the customer edit page is going to post data. See, method post is going to call customer process. So this customer process page so the customer process page, let me get an error. On the customer process page, I need to see an error. So I will switch off these redirections and save it, so that when I go to update, and I'll just when I go to update and Anna's changed name, and I click on update, I stay here, I haven't got an error. Okay, let me try to see my query. The next thing I do is I echo my query just to see what is in my query, what's happening in my query. Echo $SQL. So let's see, update customer set business is equal to this, contact first name is equal to this, undefined variable customer ID in line 64 of customer edit. So the problem is in customer edit, where on line 64 I am saying the customer ID is and I'm sending the customer ID data to the next page. But where am I getting it? On this page. On this page, I changed it to cust ID and I changed it to client. See this here? I changed it to $client. And see the $customer ID? Nothing to do with this. This is a name. Understand what I have to change. I am echoing the variable. $client. He is the variable. He is the one I changed. So this is the one I need to change. $client. Okay. So I was sending the wrong customer ID to the next page. Now that I've got this, errors are your friend. It's really good to have an error. If you don't get an error, then you don't know what to fix. So you have to trigger that error, echo out your query, see what's happening, and sometimes it just triggers it. So it's triggered. Now let me see if I update details, and it is working, no error. So now let me, and it should change in the database actually. Let me go and check in the database. I can go and check in the database straight away. I can go to South Bank Cupcakes, customer, and you can see Anna's change name. So it has updated. Now I just have to go and fix my code which I had messed up in the process. I take away the redirections. Many students forget to take away the redirections. If you don't take away the redirection, the customer process has done a process, it has redirected to the other page, you don't know what the error was. Okay, you have to take away the redirections. And now let me change it back to Anna's cupcakes at South Bank. Okay. And if I update details, Anna's Cupcakes at South Bank, it's working. The logout does nothing but merely destroys the sessions and redirects you to the login page. So that's your assignment. Understand it nicely. This is what you have to do in the very first week of next semester. This major assignment is week 1 assignment of next semester. You have to understand it because you have to implement this level of code week after week for at least 13 weeks to be successful next semester. Okay, I hope this clears up some things, and I'm going to stop this now.